Yes. Okay. So the second section in the chapter was on properties of magma, also properties of matter. And so these are the words that were there. One of the reasons we talk about these words is these are just basic physics words, but in April, you will be taking your standardized science test. It's not the TCAP anymore. It's not the CSAP. It's the CMAS. But anyways, it's online. It's on computer. But this is one of our ways of reviewing for it by tying in our sixth grade concepts to what we're doing now. So element, compound, physical, and chemical properties. So what's an element? We talked about these briefly when we talked about minerals, but I didn't put them on the quiz. Might have to put them on the quiz this week. Somebody else must know what an element is. Element. Element. Yes.
Continuing chemical thing, and it's made of all different types of atoms.
Okay, good. So it's matter that's made up of only one type of atom. So it's the simplest type of matter. And when we talked about minerals, minerals always have the same chemical composition. So those elements that are solid can also be elements. Elements that can also be minerals. Only one type of atom. So for instance, are things like gold or silver, carbon. Those things are all elements as well as being minerals. But we could have other elements like hydrogen gas, oxygen, those sorts of things. So that's an element made up of only one type of atom. So then what's a compound? A compound's kind of everything else, right? Yes. Good. So two or more elements. So that would be things like water, carbon dioxide, salt, which is sodium chloride, glucose, DNA, caffeine, any other thing you could think of that's not just one element is a compound. So it's kind of like the elements are the alphabet, and then this makes every other thing there is. But I know you'll see that on the standardized test. They ask you about elements and compounds because it's basic physical science. And the reason they bring that up here is talking about magma. Magma and lava make rocks. Rocks don't have the same chemical makeup. They vary. And what they're talking about here is the silicone is one of the elements, is a mineral. And so it's talking about how much of this mineral is in different types of matter. And so on the top of that worksheet you did, it talked about the physical properties and the chemical properties. Physical properties are all of those things like we talked about for minerals. So the color, the texture, the yes, and all of those things are physical properties, including the magnetism and all that. And then the chemical properties are basically like reactivity and does it burn, does it react, does it cause a chemical reaction. And then finally we've got viscosity, which is basically is it runny? If it is really runny, it has a low viscosity. And if it's kind of resistance to flowing, it's very thick, it has high viscosity. And the reason this whole thing comes up is because when you look at lava, you can actually look at the cooled lava rock and you know something about its viscosity, you know something about its chemical makeup. So the really runny, smooth lava that makes this kind of, it looks like cooled wax. That's the pahoehoe. And then the really high viscosity makes these pointy, rigid, rough surface, and that's very high viscosity. The reason I included this picture from the textbook here, it says Look, it's a geologist sampling magma. What's wrong with that? Is he sampling magma? Is he sampling magma? What's magma? What's magma? Yes? Beneath the surface of the earth. Could he be sampling magma? Well, he could be, but he's not. He's on the surface of the earth, sampling lava, clearly. Yeah, that's right from your textbook. Okay. And so the last thing for today is this. So again, the magma is melted rock that's liquid under the surface of the ground. Inside the crust, when it cools, granite basalt. Oh, oops, granite. It's got crystals. It's very dense. Intrusive rock. Lava comes to the surface, cools and dries. It's less dense. It has smaller crystals. And it's also, this is actually basalt also. And again, the two Hawaiian words, it turns out a lot of studies of volcanoes go on in Hawaii. And so the pahoehoe is that runny, low viscosity, ropey, looks kind of like pulled taffy or cooled wax. The aa has high viscosity, high silicone content, and is very pointy. Okay,